Welcome to That's Good Sports. I am Brandon. I have been double doinked harder than any Bears fan has ever been double doinked, Perna.
The Bears season's going to end on a double doink.
The last time I was double doinked was in 10th grade when some douche threw a basketball at my junk when I wasn't looking because maybe the girls' volleyball team was practicing next to us, and it hit me so hard down there that it bounced off the court and hit again, double doinking any chance I ever had at producing kids. That nauseating feeling in my stomach is what I know Bears fans felt when their season ended the way it did. Today, I want to recap the Bears' offseason, from ridding themselves of kickers to free agency and the draft, and ask, did they get better? And is Mitch Trubisky the real deal? That's good sports. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. If you're new here, click the notification button. If you're old here, YouTube wants you to do that shit, so please. But before we get started on the Bears prediction, I have Patreon shout-outs for DV Knoll and Cole DeBear. A shout-out for the second video in a row, upping his donation from $5 to $20. Now, I do know one guy who thinks the Bears got worse this offseason. His name is John Fox.
Which team had the worst offseason and why? Who wants to start us off?
I'm going to go with the Bears, too. I think when you're going to play defense, you're going to lean on takeaways to help a young offense, and you don't have a kicker, a reliable kicker that you're going to need those points from after some of those turnovers. I think the kicking question is really big right now in Chicago, and I think that might be a problem for them in the season.
Now, I wouldn't get too upset, Bears fans. When someone gets fired, they almost never leave a good review on Glassdoor of their former employer. You've got a former Walmart employee about the job saying what you'd expect. That actually seems fair. No work-life balance. That's John Fox when he left the Broncos. Not a good fit if you want to see your children ever. That was a Supercuts employee. And fun, but long hours. John Fox again with the Panthers. Seems like Fox really just wanted a good kicker and a 9-to-5 job. Probably why he's at ESPN now. Now, a brief recap of 2018. The Bears had a breakout season last year, finishing 12-4 with understandable losses to the Packers and Patriots and inexplicable losses to the Dolphins and the Giants, both in overtime. To be fair, the Giants may have got that OT win because Trubisky was injured and Chase Daniel was the quarterback. The Dolphins game was some bizarre shit though. Brock Osweiler was good enough to take the game into overtime, drive down the field, and then watch Kenyon Drake fumble on the goal line where the Bears recovered. Then, Jordan Howard rushes Chicago back into field goal territory, only so Cody Parkey can miss a 53-yard field goal with less than 2 minutes left in overtime. Prior to that, Parkey only missed one field goal on the season, including making 2 field goals and 6 PATs the week before. Parkey would miss 5 field goals after that, including 2 field goals and 2 PATs in one game, all seemingly hitting the uprights, including a miss in the wildcard game against the Eagles, where the Bears lost by 1 point, leading to one of the greatest Spanish broadcast calls of all time, unless you're a Bears fan.
¡No! ¡Falló! ¡No, señor! ¡No, señor! ¡No, señor! ¡No, señor! ¡No, señor! ¡No, señor! ¡Los Eagles se van con la victoria! ¡Ay, papá! ¡No, señor! ¡No, señor! Chicago, Chicago!
And that was the exact moment Bears fans started chanting, "Build the wall!
¡No, señor!
Build the wall!
¡Ay, papá!
Build the wall!"
How many fucking missed kicks is Cody Parkey gonna fucking hit?
I'm not trying to torture you Bears fans, I promise, especially with outdated Bird Box memes, but Parkey was a big story last season. Not as big as the story of the rise of Mitch Trubisky or the impact Khalil Mack had on helping turn that Bears defense into a powerhouse of pain, but a great scapegoat for what was an otherwise impressive season. Outside winning games, the Bears, well, they mastered the team touchdown celebration and created the most exclusive club on earth, Club Dub. No girls allowed, by the way. club I could finally feel comfortable at. Can they build? Can they build on that after losing the defensive mastermind and the silent owner of Club Dub in Don Fangio? You know how many heads were put in vices for people who tried to steal from Club Dub? 6. Now, key losses for the Bears. I do believe defensive coordinator Vic Fangio was the biggest offseason loss for Chicago. And I say that fully admitting I still think the Bears defense is pretty stacked with talent. I mean Roquan Smith, Danny Trevathan, Khalil Mack, Eddie Goldman, and Akeem Hicks up front is truly a dynamic set of players for any defensive coordinator to work with. You're welcome, Chuck Pagano. And I like Pagano in a coordinator role. But as someone who witnessed what happened to the Broncos' stacked defense after Wade Phillips left Denver, I have some reservations. For whatever reason, defensive players love playing for really old guys. Probably why the Chiefs' defense will regress without Bob Sutton. Pagano is only 58, so I hope that's old enough. I think Mack's sack numbers will actually go up with Pagano, as I doubt he will ask Mack to drop in coverage as much as Vic Fangio did. Good news is you still have the best cover safety in the NFL in Eddie Jackson. That alone makes a secondary coach's job a lot easier. The Bears traded running back Jordan Howard to the Eagles for a 6th round pick. Kicker Cody Parkey is obviously gone, probably a pastor now somewhere. The loss of Parkey, that is what Will Keys and I refer to as addition by subtraction. The big losses though were safety Adrian Amos and corner Bryce Callahan. I have no clue why Chicago didn't re-sign at least one of those guys. Amos and Jackson formed an elite safety duo, and even though Sherrick McManus filled in nicely after Callahan went down with his late season injury, McManus has always been a depth player, never getting more than 300 snaps in a season, which is why they brought in Buster Screen, even though his nickname is Busted Coverage Screen. For years, it was the Bears poaching Denver's players like Danny Trevathan, who took living in Chicago, the murder capital of the United States, a little too seriously when he tried to decapitate Devontae Adams, Eddie Royal, Jay Cutler, even coaches like John Fox. But now, the supply chain has flipped on the Bearcos, and Denver is getting all of Chicago's best players. Bears, key additions. I think their smartest offseason acquisition was Seattle running back Mike Davis. If Davis gets the same amount of carries as Howard did, he will easily replace those 1,000 yards on the ground. Again, they signed corner Buster Screen, wide receiver Cordarrelle Patterson, which I applaud simply for not letting the Patriots use him for another season. They added safety Clinton Dix, who played college ball with Eddie Jackson. Can you say chemistry? They can't, because neither of those guys ever showed up for one fucking chemistry class while in college together. Communications majors, probably. Chicago re-signed Aaron Lynch, a key move for that defense, as Lynch was a linchpin, as a run defender until he got hurt late in the season. A noteworthy undrafted free agent signing was corner Clifton Duck, who made it into my best named college players episode this offseason. Clifton Duck's hobbies include winning limbo competitions and, of course, dipping egg rolls in mee sauce. Finally, I think the Bears added about 80 kickers to test out. They landed on Elliott Fry and Eddie Panerio, venereal disease Panerio. Sadly, they had to waive Chris Blewett, as well as other kickers like Jeff Upright, Tim Shanks, and Austin Quadruple Doink. The Bears draft. I would personally like to thank the Bears for only drafting 5 players. That makes my job a hell of a lot easier. And for that, consider me officially rooting for the Bears in 2019. Round 3, they grabbed running back David Montgomery out of Iowa State, who is already a favorite for Offensive Rookie of the Year, according to NFL.com's Lance Zierlein. Okay, Lance. Round 4, Calvin Ridley's younger brother, wide receiver Riley Ridley from Georgia. He's just one D away from having the same first name as his last name, like Denver Nuggets future legend Bol, or Saran on a much darker note. Round 6, K-State cornerback Duke Shelley, a very masculine first name and a feminine last name. Always smart to get your corners from the state of Kansas, however. Maybe it's because, as a state, they have 3 corners. But that's also why they play their best football in Colorado. Round 7, Florida running back Kareth White and corner Steven Denmark from Valdosta State, wherever the fuck that is. Let's just say Steven is from Denmark and not pretend to know anything relevant about a 7th round corner who played at a college that sounds like a heart condition. I'm sorry, Steven, we must put a stent in you. Your Valdosta valve is 98% blocked, which gives the Bears an official draft grade of B. Now, a breakout player for Chicago, well, I think it's 2 guys. Defensively, it feels like it has to be Leonard Floyd. Floyd was the 9th overall pick in 2016, but played a full 16 games for the first time last year. He had a solid season, but I don't think he's hit his potential yet. With Khalil Mack opposite of him, he has to take advantage of being the edge rusher, not getting double teamed every snap. Or he could end up like Shane Ray this offseason, signing a 1-year deal for nothing. Many people believe that Mitch Trubisky had a breakout year last year. Maybe that's true, but Bears fans, you want this season to be his real breakout year, where he carries the team. I think football experts are still pretty divided on Trubisky on whether or not he's a very good QB. He's arguably one of the most fun quarterbacks to watch in the league, but there are still serious questions about how consistent he can be with ball placement, and that's a fucked up thing to say about a guy who completed 66% of his passes in 2018. But if you watched him, you know what I'm talking about. Mitch Trubisky, or as I call him, Cake Batter Cam Newton, may have a very similar career as Cam. I think he might end up being a franchise QB who you just can never fully get a grip on. The kind of guy who will look like an MVP at times and at other times save his best work for Oikos yogurt commercials. Wait, no, I correct that. Trubisky's more like a Tim Tebow who can throw the ball. Mitch is clutch when the game is on the line, and Brett Coleman confirmed this when he pointed out Trubisky's passer rating was an astonishing 115 in the final 7 minutes of a game. Where Tebow looked like a running back being asked to throw for the first 3.5 quarters of a game, Trubisky at least appears average. And where Tebow had Jesus, Mitch kissed titties, proving once and for all titties are better than Jesus. Debate ended, and I don't want to hear any more about it in the comments. Biggest weakness for the Bears, kicker. Easily still kicker until proven otherwise. Which makes me think it's pretty fucked up of John Fox to whine about the Bears kicker when Robbie Gould was cut while he was the head coach. When your kicker is the reason you lost in the playoffs, and you didn't overpay for a good kicker to replace him, you're asking to get your heart broken again. Granted, it's probably hard to convince a good kicker to come play at a place called the Windy City. Similar to why good pitchers don't sign with the Rockies, or why people who love money don't become teachers. If you were a bail bondsman, would you rather move to Vermont or Florida? That's what I thought. Gould, by the way, still refuses to sign his contract with the 49ers, and he made it clear he wanted to go back to Chicago. If I'm a Bears fan, I'm not praying for my own good health. I'm praying that by trade or miracle, Gould ends up back in Chicago kicking balls like a gooch master that he is. So my 2019 prediction for the Bears. I don't think Chicago got a lot better in the offseason. If they improve, it's probably because Mitch Trubisky takes a step forward, which is very much a possibility in year 2 of Matt Nagy's offense. But their defense probably peaked last season, and the departures of Fangio, Callahan, and Amos will take some time to get over. Screen and Clinton Dix are both downgrades from those two, but it's not hard to imagine Roquan Smith, Khalil Mack, and Eddie Jackson playing better than they did last year, which would help bridge the gap. I don't think they end up going 12-4 this year. I think it's closer to 9-7, 10-6. The Packers are probably better this year. They play the AFC West, the Bears, which will be tough, and the turnover could cause them to stumble out of the gate. It is hard to maintain an elite defense with a major coaching change, and I doubt the Bears remain the stingiest defense in the league 2 years in a row, allowing an NFL best 17.7 points per game last season. They were also tied for second with 50 sacks and led the league in picks with 27. That miss by Parkey really fucked them, as that defense was primed to give them a run if they could get past that wild card game. Or had they beat the Dolphins or Giants in overtime and maybe got a first round bye. Now that doesn't mean this is a team that can't get to a Super Bowl with Nagy and Trubisky. But even good teams have years where they miss the playoffs, especially with a young quarterback. Think the 2002 Patriots, the 2009 Falcons, or the 2001 Colts. It happens, and it doesn't mean they won't rebound. If there's a reason to believe Mitch Trubisky can have a better 2019 season, it's because with Tariq Cohen, David Montgomery, and Mike Davis in the backfield, Matt Nagy is free to throw to any running back, making the Bears' offense a little bit less predictable, with a lot of receiving weapons as well in Allen Robinson, Taylor Gabriel, Anthony Miller, rookie Ridley, and tight end Trey Burton. Something that should greatly help Trubisky. The Bears can only maintain dominance this year if we're talking about their offense come November. That's what I think. And yes, this is the only non-Broncos NFL shirt I own. Because everybody loved the fridge. Thanks for watching another episode of That's Good Sports. Please subscribe here on YouTube. You gotta subscribe. I'm on Twitter, Instagram. If you wanna talk to me about football there, we can do it. And make sure you follow @WillKey6 on Twitter. He helps me write all of these football videos for your pretty little faces to consume.